I've now been bouncing with these squats, pulses, whatever you want to call them, bottom half squats for a few days now. And I think I'm getting a nice feeling of what they try to do to you or what their use is. Obviously, when you overload or when you stay in one part of a range of motion, and you continually keep hitting that, it will give you a feedback. Sort of kind of like what pin squats gave you a feedback. Sort of like many other exercises where you're doing a partial range of motion, whether it's middle, lower, upper, or whatever you want to do. It will give you an idea of what this part is about. And I think ultimately that's what I'm seeking here. That's the experimentation here. That's the trial here. I just want to know what the bottom of the squat is doing to me. What structure is it challenging? And obviously there's a lot of noise when you're trying to run an experiment in a moving target. You know, I've got multiple different days with multiple different focuses that I'm kind of attacking, whether it's chest, back, lower back, quads. There's many exercises that I'm doing. And so to do 1 or 2 days is kind of hard. But as you start to string close to a week of exercise, you start to get a better idea. And so far, every single time I've done them, these bottom half squats, it feels like it is absolutely about the lower back. Now, when you say the lower back, that doesn't necessarily mean you just have to start doing 45 hypers and GHD back raises. There's more to lower back than just the lower erectors. The lower back is a interesting sensation. When you feel your lower back, the number one thing is, sure, erectors, but there's more. Because what the lower back is, it's part of a system of pelvic control. Anterior, posterior pelvic control, it's like a fluid thing. It's like on a dial. So when you feel your lower back, that's where the fight is ending. That's where the fight is ending. That's kind of the last man in defense. But what if I tell you that you shouldn't let that last man in defense even be challenged that way? What's the first man in defense? And I think the anterior core is to blame why the lower back is really copying it. Because if you keep a stack position, if you feel like you are locked in and there is no translation or there's no rotation in that pelvis from front to back, there is no anterior then posterior translation as you're going through the range of motion. Basically, you are not butt winking. You're not going through the motion of movement in your lower back. If you can keep that locked in throughout the entire range of motion, then you shouldn't feel just the lower back. Then you should feel like a overall fatigue in the system. The anterior core, the rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, the obliques, and lower back. But if you are letting go of that anterior part, and then you just start hanging on to your lower back, then you're going to be like, oh, it's the lower back. But in fact, what's happening is that the lower back's co-partner or partner is just letting go. It's tapping out like in the first couple of reps. And so I know this is like a very, very non-sexy thought, and I've had these thoughts so much over the years. Dude, core. It is the most unsexy thing to think about. Trust me, I've been there many, many different times. It's something that is not attractive to me because, other than being a bodybuilder that has like 10% body fat or freaking 8% body fat and showing it off like walking to the beach, other than that, cohort of people that want that, for the most part, we all have like 15 to 20% body fat, and you're not really going to see the gains of the freaking core. Where you're going to see gains in the core is in translation to performance. Deadlifting more, squatting more, freaking even benching more probably. Who knows? I don't know. So it's not a sexy thought because, if you start talking to somebody in the gym and they're like, dude, what's the most important part of the squat? And, the sexy thing to say is, oh, dude, just get quads. Get quads, man. Do heaps of leg presses, do heaps of leg extensions, lots of lunges, all that kind of stuff, Bulgarian split squats, and then you'll be really, really good at squatting. But there's something missing there. And we know that because how many times have you seen a chick, and I say a chick purposefully, who can 7, 8 damn plates, 10 plates on the leg press, pumping that shit out like nobody's business, and then she can hardly squat 60 kilos. So she has the leg extensor strength. She has the strength to move the leg press very, very well. But then on the squat, why isn't that translating? And there's multiple reasons for that. And obviously there's glutes and all sorts of stuff going on. But I feel like the real elephant in the room is the fact that during a leg press, your core is not in a position to fire. And it's not really being challenged at all in that movement. That's kind of what that movement tries to do. So this is where you start thinking to yourself, all right, do I do more core? How do I do the core? Should I do Russian twists? Is that a good core exercise? Lots of discussions about that, how the dead bug is way more effective than anything else. Ultimately speaking, I think the most specific core work is in fact something which is heavy. I really think that. So if you take a heavy farmer's carry and you take that for a walk, if you bear hug a sandbag and you take that for a walk, if you do a pin squat with super maximum weight and you just stand there, that's effective. If you do deadlifts, that's effective. If you do heavy squats, that's effective. If you do something which is basically forcing you to brace without absolute any options of you not to brace, right? Because we all know you can kind of do a sit-up, you can kind of do some of these core exercises without really bracing, as funny as that sounds, right? You can just do it, weirdly enough. You can do a plank without bracing. You just let go, you collapse in the lower back. So you're doing it with an anterior pelvic tilt. No, you should have a hollow body. So what I'm saying here is that you can do core exercises without doing your core, as twisted as that sounds. However, can you do a 300 kilo pin squat without bracing? Absolutely not. That shit ain't moving, man. You're not going to get it off the pins. Even if it's half an inch, you are not shouldering that weight without absolutely recruiting the last freaking fiber in your body. That muscle which extends your damn toe or flexes your toe needs to fire for that thing to come off the pins, right? So there is always going to be a bias towards absolute maximum weight being the most effective. It's the most specific. That's what core truly wants you to do. If Mike Tyson's sitting next to you and he's like, I'm going to give you a freaking hook to the midsection, what are you going to do? You're going to brace everything. You're going to brace your freaking anal sphincter. Your earlobes are going to flex because you might freaking die when this guy walks up and steps through that hook, right? So these types of things is what really, really matters in my mind. Sure, you can do your Russian twists, but that can't be everything you're doing. There needs to be an element of you absolutely assuming that heavy ass weight as the challenging part. And how often can you do that? Not very often. You cannot nervously, central nervous system, you can't cope with a 300 kilo pin squat for a meaningful volume every day. So you need to allow time for you to kind of recover, but you need to do that. And I think this is probably why there is a distinction between this whole idea of, a bodybuilder is just a peaking block away from being a powerlifter. I'm sorry, man, because that is a very shallow look at what's actually going on in strength and performance. Strength and performance is a lot about core. And this is where, if you do not train with heavy ass weight for months and months and months, for years and years and years, these weird structures that are around our spinal cord, these core muscles, don't develop. You don't develop your diaphragm, the breathing freaking flat muscle that we breathe with. You don't develop that. You don't develop the brace. And this is why simply doing bodybuilding is not going to be an answer for you to have a 400 kilo deadlift. This is why some of the strongest people are not just bodybuilding. They need to do other things. This is where I think specificity truly comes to light. because you need heavy ass weight. You need that bracing. Amongst many other things, you need heavy weight. That's kind of where I'm at. We're thinking about core, thinking about all this stuff. And I think this is what these pulse squats, these bottom half squats are teaching me. Man, the lower back absolutely cops it sweetly. Absolutely cops it sweetly. And I think there's a reason for that. It's because the lower back, or let's say the core, is the limiting factor. And is what we all need to work on. Obviously, we can't do it every day. This is where you throw in some other, let's say, bodybuilding movements. But the moment you are recovered, you have to do some core work. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.